Hello there and welcome to this video where I'm going to show you how I clean the mass airflow sensor in my 2011 Nissan Frontier. This video will help you if you have a 2005 to 2019 Frontier equipped with the 4-liter 6-cylinder engine. The service engine soon light came on a few days ago in my truck, so I ran a diagnostic and the error code that came up was the P0101, which is the mass airflow sensor range. The engine was running just fine, but the service engine light was on, so it's time for me to pop the hood and show the truck a little bit of love. I've had this code come up before, and it can be no big deal to fix. So stick around and you'll see just how easy it is to clean your mass airflow sensor. The first step in the process is going to be to pop the hood and secure it with the support that's on the driver's side of the engine bay. Next, we want to locate the mass airflow sensor itself, and here it is on the intake piping just to the left of the air intake filter housing. Let's zoom in for a closer look at the mass airflow sensor as it is installed. Next, we want to remove the wiring harness from the back of the sensor and remove the 2 Phillips head screws from the body of the sensor, which is what holds it or secures it to the intake piping. Once the screws are removed, the sensor will slide right out of the intake piping. Now be careful when you remove it because these sensors can be sensitive to jarring, so just be sure to handle it carefully and definitely don't drop it. As you remove the sensor, you'll notice there's an orientation to it, and we'll make note of this orientation for the reinstallation. To clean the sensor, you're going to need an aerosol mass airflow sensor cleaner. And this stuff is readily available at an auto parts store or through an online store like Amazon. You may even be able to pick some up from your local Walmart. Now you're going to want to do this cleaning in a very well ventilated space, preferably outdoors if possible. I always like to do this kind of stuff outdoors, especially when there's an aerosol cleaner involved. Now let's pick up the sensor and take a look down inside the housing, and you'll see that there's a little wire looking piece that sits recessed inside the housing. This is the part that needs to be cleaned. This is referred to as the hot wire, and it is the component of the sensor that actually measures the airflow entering the engine. And this wire sits in the direct path and comes into contact with all the air that enters the engine. And it can get dirty over time, even if you regularly change your intake air filter. You want to start the cleaning by spraying inside the cavity that wire is housed inside. You can be very generous with using the cleaner. Just make sure that you do not touch the wire with the tip of the straw or anything else. You don't want anything to contact that wire besides the liquid spray because you can physically damage the wire if you do. But just give the whole sensor a nice thorough cleaning. Go around all the sides and give it a good thorough cleaning. Once you've gone over the sensor well, go ahead and set it down to let it dry out a little bit before the reinstallation. Once the sensor has had a few minutes to dry out, it's ready for reinstallation. Now let's head back over to the truck and reinsert the sensor back into the slot on the intake piping. Make sure that the wire side is facing towards the intake filter box. You need to reinstall the 2 Phillips head screws to secure the sensor back to the intake piping. And then lastly, you'll need to plug the harness back into the sensor. After you've reinstalled the clean sensor, you'll need to clear the error code from the ECU using a diagnostic reader. If you don't have one, you'll need to get one. Now there's a lot of them out there and they vary in cost and sophistication. The one I own is very basic and I've included a link to it in the video description. Now once you've cleared the code and started the engine, you'll know very quickly whether or not cleaning the sensor solved your issue. In this case, my code cleared and didn't come back, so I'm good to go. But if your service engine soon light comes back on after cleaning the sensor, it is possible that you need to replace it. A replacement sensor for this engine is generally between $120 and $150, and I've had to replace mine once before, and it's super easy. You just need to remove the old one and install the new one. But before you drop the money on a new sensor, I would highly recommend cleaning the old one a couple of times and clearing the code. If multiple cleanings doesn't fix the issue, I would move on to replacing the sensor. Thank you for watching this video. I really hope that you found it useful and will consider liking it or maybe even subscribing to the channel. In either case, take care and happy frontiering.